Welcome to The Unusual History of Everything, the podcast that uncovers the unusual history of everything around us. I'm Karen Lacey.
And I'm Melanie Dulles. On this episode, we dive into the history of making wishes and why we like to toss coins into water.
Tossing a coin into a fountain or a well and making a wish has been a tradition since ancient times. People long ago gave the coin as a gift or tribute to a god or goddess, usually to keep them happy, make them happy, or as a form of payment for whatever it was they were asking for. Pools, wells, and fountains were all thought to be maintained and populated by water spirits or deities, and tossing coins into them can be dated back to the Roman, British, and Celtic mythologies.
Pliny the Younger, a 1st century Roman author, describes in many of his writings springs that meet into one body of still water where, quote, the water, clear as glass, allows you to see gleaming pebbles on the bottom and the coins the people have thrown in, end quote. His descriptions of the coins in the water are the earliest we have. The Germanic tribes of Europe believed spirits not only lived in the water, but created the water. These spirits would often listen to the humans who lived near them and grant wishes for them, especially if they put a coin or other valuable into the water.
There's a Norse legend about a water deity named Mimir, or Mirror, who lived in and guarded the Well of Wisdom. Because he drank from its waters, Mimir was the wisest being there was. And one day, Odin, who was trying to save the world, went to the well to drink from it and receive the knowledge he needed to end the destruction that was happening. But Mimir wouldn't let him just drink for free. Mimir demanded Odin's right eye as payment. Knowing it was worth it to save the world, Odin agreed and tossed his eye into the well.
There is a very ancient, popular well in Northumberland, England, that people would visit to pray to Coventina, the Celtic goddess of wells and springs, and who ruled over healing and childbirth. Archaeologists found 16,000 coins, buttons, and beads, no eyes, as far as I know, in the well, with the earliest dating to 407 AD. These small gifts to appease a deity were common with the Celts, so much so that the people built a temple to Coventina around the source of the spring.
Throwing things into a well other than coins was common in the past. For example, at the well of Penrhos in Oxford, England, people threw in pieces of their clothing tied to the branch of a nearby tree. The well's water was believed to have healing powers, and the diseases of the sick person would be transferred into the clothing, which, when tossed in the water, would be healed, thus healing the person. It was a type of sympathetic magic, where a person would try to heal themselves by healing the clothing. Belief in the healing powers of this well were strong, and people visited up until the late 18th century.
Yes, but it wasn't because they were asking things of a spirit or a god that inhabited the water, unlike Coventina's well. It instead was entirely due to the water itself. Healing waters have drawn people to them since ancient times, as natural springs became the focal point of healing and places of worship. It didn't take long for our ancestors to realize that water was essential to life, and that certain types of waters and hot springs had disease-protecting effects. Because of this, people soon looked at water as a gift from something greater than themselves, and began thanking that higher power with little gifts and requests for more healing.
Enter Christianity, when during the Middle Ages, the sacred springs dedicated to various pagan water spirits, gods, and goddesses became associated with different saints. Because it knew it couldn't stop people from visiting the waters, the churches decided it could at least make it less pagan by switching up who the people were praying to. The people didn't mind and still tossed in coins, bent pens, and buttons into the waters in the hope that the saint, spirit, god, or goddess would hear their requests for good fortune or healing.
Although there does still exist the belief in certain waters having healing powers, most Western people toss coins into fountains today because of the tradition of it bringing them luck when they make a wish. It doesn't have anything to do with them believing that water spirits or gods dwell in the waters. Well, I mean, it might, but I don't think so. The most famous example we can think of a wishing fountain is the Trevi Fountain in Rome. The Trevi Fountain was built by Nicola Salvi and Giuseppe Panini in 1762 as the end piece of a long aqueduct called Virgo, the goddess who guided soldiers to water during wartime. This fountain's tradition started as tossing a coin in or drinking from it to ensure good health and evolved into throwing a coin over your shoulder and into the water so that one day you would return to Rome.
So many people throw coins into the Trevi Fountain that the Roman Catholic charity Caritas shuts it down for 1 hour every day so they can collect the coins and buy food for the poor. Most people who maintain wishing fountains collect and donate the coins to various charities. For example, in Las Vegas, the Bellagio's large dancing fountain collects about $12,000 a year, which the owners donate. Of course, some of the fountain's owners use that money to, maintain the fountain and the land around it, like the owners of the New York City's Bryant Park Fountain, who collect the coins every 3 months, usually totaling more than $3,000.
But this begs the question, if you're tossing coins into a well or fountain and making a wish, and someone is coming and taking your coins, are your wishes going to come true? Is this coin imbued with the wish, or is it the act of you tossing it in and making the wish? Let's hope it's the latter, but can your wishes really come true? Some believe they can, and there's actually some science behind it. It's called the power of manifestation. If you think about it long and hard enough, it will happen. It's also called the law of attraction. Positive thoughts bring positive things into your life, while negative thoughts bring negative things. It's not enough to just think about whatever it is you want. Your whole body has to believe that you'll be able to make it happen. Manifestation is when those thoughts present themselves as physical signs, things, or people in the real world.
Our bodies are made up of energy and electricity, and our nervous system is responsible for our ability to manifest something. It is what gives us the ability to think, feel, and do, which is what we need in order to manifest something into reality. Manifesting can be compared to praying or visualizing really hard. It's also about repetition, visually and verbally. If we continually visualize our wish, our desire, and we speak it positively over and over again, this will cause our brain to create new neural pathways, and these pathways are what will guide our wishes into reality.
I'm a big, firm believer in manifestation. I always say to my friends and family, like when negativity is like really overwhelming them in whatever they're thinking or saying to me, I'm always like, stop talking about it so negatively, because like you're putting that into the universe, and it's going to come back to you. Like, I know that it feels, heavy and negative, but push that away and just talk about it in a positive way and put that out there so that hopefully that positivity comes back to you. And I swear to God, it works. Like, I have seen it work. I have felt it work. And I don't know how many times I've told my kids and like my parents that, like, manifest the positive change that you want and you're going to see it happen. It might take a while. And I also read this thing like a long time ago. I can't even tell you where I read it. It was probably in some random fiction book or whatever. Like, I don't think it was any kind of scientific journal or anything, but I remember reading how the power of a group of people really visualizing and thinking of the same thing in a positive way will spread like a disease kind of like around the world. And if you get like everybody doing it, like this huge energy field forms, and like the electricity and like I don't know what it is, but like if you get everybody thinking and visualizing in the same way, it'll end up manifesting whatever it is that they were thinking about.
I believe there's something to it. I mean, if nothing else, for your own well-being. I mean, I always think if something's happening or I'm about ready to be overwhelmed by like 50 million things, I have to always see like, what is the silver lining? What is the good within the bad? And if you can always find that, sometimes it gets you through to the next end. Like this week is really busy, but this thing that happened this week that's making me busy is really exciting. Or, okay, all I have to do is get till Friday. Like, you always have to find that thing, like whatever it is. And I always try to do the same thing for my daughter. Just, hey, I know this is crazy this week, or this thing happened to you today, but what good thing happened? Like, find one thing and hold on to that.
Focus on that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like, it's like what you said about redirecting and creating these new neural pathways. And those pathways are going to be what guides us to making our wishes, our prayers, or whatever it is, into this physical reality. And imagine if changing your neural pathways or creating new ones allows the energy and electricity in your body to go through them. I visualize it as coming out the top of your head and going up into the sky to whatever higher power you believe in, and kind of like having that be like a pathway of positivity to that higher power that allows that higher power to help manifest what it is that you want for good in your life, like a little drawbridge to, I don't know.
I always think of it more of like a bubble. Like there's like like this bubble around you. And if you put positive energy, then it's like a positive bubble, so to speak. And
Positive protective bubble.
Yeah. And then you can like meet other people and they can either mess with your bubble in a good way or like almost enter into it or
pop it.
or whatever. But it's kind of more like this is my little microcosm universe and like affect other people or just affect yourself. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. You can follow the Unusual History of Everything podcast on Instagram at the Unusual History of Everything and on Facebook at the Unusual History of Everything podcast. And find our show notes on www.musecuratorial.com. The Unusual History of Everything is written, produced, and directed by Melanie Dellis and Karen Lacey.
New episodes air every Tuesday on all podcast outlets. Be sure to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. You can also see photos from our episodes and more on our website, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening. I'm Melanie Dellis.
And I'm Karen Lacey, your host for the Unusual History of Everything.
Da, da, da.